Hey everyone, and welcome. My name's Tess from the Produce 8 team, and I'm here to talk to you about the Great Workdays and the Great Workdays Challenge with Produce 8. Before we dive in, we'll take a quick tour of what we'll be covering today. So first, we will look at the why behind Produce 8 and the reason why we built it and the problem that it solves. And then a quick walkthrough of the app and how to get started. And then finally, we'll wrap up on how you can use Produce 8 and the Great Workdays challenges to create more productive and balanced workdays for yourself. So we've seen a clear trend in the workplace over the last couple of decades. We're working more than ever, but we're not actually getting more done. And that's a problem for everyone. What often happens is a cycle that's really hard to break. When things don't go as planned, there's pressure for everyone to work longer and harder to make up for it. But when we push too much, it leads to exhaustion, disengagement, and eventually burnout. And instead of boosting productivity, we end up losing even more, which just adds to the pressure at work to work even harder, and then the cycle continues. Organizations can't afford to accept less outputs, and we also need to recognize that pushing unsustainable efforts isn't the solution, it's a part of the problem. But the good news is that we can help break the cycle. The key is by gaining a deep, unbiased understanding about how we work, and by doing this, we can identify what truly drives the results and focus on doing more of that while cutting back on things that hold us back. Productivity is a really tricky topic, and sometimes people can get a bit defensive. So before we dive in, let's clarify what I mean when I talk about productivity. First off, productivity is a concept, not something that you can measure or put a score on. It's about how we work, and it really has three main components. It's about getting a lot done. So that's the quantity side of things, and doing it in a reasonable amount of time. That's the effort part. And then also making an impact. That's really the most important part about achieving something meaningful, like generating revenue or improving the business. So productivity isn't really just about how many hours you worked or how many tasks you crossed off on your list. It's really about whether or not you got the results that you wanted. And the productivity paradox is when the effort increases, but the impact decreases. So essentially, you're working harder, but you're not actually seeing the results. So the solution is not do more with less. It's about working smarter, not harder, and getting more done by doing less. And that's exactly why Produce 8 exists. So Produce 8, the tool I'm about to introduce, won't and can't measure your productivity. But what it can do is help you understand how you're spending your time so you can start working smarter, not harder. So how do we help if we're really not measuring your productivity? What we do is we help spot what's holding you back from having healthy, productive work days. Things that slow you down, like interruptions or distractions, multitasking between tasks, too much time spent on messaging and meetings, or like inefficient workflows or tech that really doesn't work well together, or not enough time for focused, deep work. We believe that if you can identify and solve all the reasons why you're not thriving at work, you'll be left with exactly what you need, the ability to thrive, achieve, and be at your best. I want to ask a series of simple questions, starting with, do your work days go the way that you want them to? And I'm going to assume that we probably don't need a lot of time to think about this, or to recognize that they don't always go the way we want them to. Mine definitely don't. But another question is, what would it be like if they did? What would it look like if you could always be at your best, feel at your best, and thrive at work? You'd get the most done and you'd feel better doing it. So the next question is, what would need to change? What's the difference between how things are today and then what would need to be consistently happening for you to have great work days? Where would you feel like where you would feel like you're thriving and accomplishing the most at work? So the last question, what are you doing about it? If your days aren't going the way that you want, if you're often not having great work days, how are you going to get there and what are you doing? The good news is you're probably already actually doing something to have better work days, personal development, coaching, workflow changes, even the things that you learn as you go over time help you get better at your job. help you to have better work days. And another really good thing is that Produce 8 is another thing that can help you to understand what you're doing and the impact that it has on your work environment. This is obviously where we come in. So picture Produce 8 as a health tracker or an activity tracker for your workday. We measure workdays kind of like Strava or like Fitbit measures your workouts and activities. And just like a fitness or a health app, Produce 8 provides you with insights and awareness, not judgment. So you get to decide which activities you want insights from. You set the goals, and we just help create the workout plan. And just like a fitness app, there's also the social element, because work is a team activity and not an individual event. You and your team can support each other, and it's also your leader's jobs to support you. It's our mission to help you take control of your workday and have great work days that you want to have, but on your terms. So now that you have an idea about what Produce 8 is all about, let's take a look on how it actually works. I'll walk you through some of the key features that will help you and your team have healthier, more productive work days. You don't have to worry about all of the details. It's not really complicated. And we'll guide you through step by step in the order that you'll experience it as a new user. So look out for an email with a link to join. It's simple. It's a really simple onboarding process. Just set your password, install the extensions, and then connect the data sources. Okay, so once you have accepted the invite and set up your account and installed the desktop extension and the browser extension, you're going to be seeing this page. It's going to take you to your personal workspace. All you have to do now is add in some of the data sources. And to do that, all you need to do is click on the actions right here and then click on follow more apps. It's going to present you with the list of apps that have already been added into your account. And if you want to follow something that you don't see here, reach out to your account admin and they can have it added in for you. So all you'll have to do is select the apps that you want to follow, select as many as you want. And honestly, there's no harm in following something that you don't use because it's really just not going to pull in any data if you're not using. But like I said, just follow the apps that you want to grab information from and then click follow selected. Going to give you this page here to let you know that everything's been created successfully. And now I'm going to switch over to a workspace that I already have set up so you can start to understand what information is actually being pulled into Produce 8 and what information are you going to start to see. Okay, so what you're actually going to see in Produce 8 is the amount of time that you're spending in the applications that you subscribe to in an in-focus active window. So as you can see the list of my activities, this is my personal workspace of the things that I subscribe to. Produce 8 will only log when you're actively in focus in a window or an application. So for example, I have two screens going. I can only be working in one window at a time. So even if I have something running in the back, something open in the background, it's going to only be pulling information of whatever window I'm in actively. So you'll see the app that I was working in and the total duration of the session. And you're probably not going to spend too much time in this activity stream, but I do always like to be transparent about what information Produce 8 is pulling in and what you're going to see. So where you're probably going to spend more time is actually on the timeline here. So this is the timeline from obviously my personal workspace. What you're going to see is the timeline is divided into 3 different swim lanes. So the top swim lane here shows your typical activities, highlighting workflows, distractions, focus time, and even breaks. So you can see where I have 0 activities. That's clearly where I took my lunch break. The next one is going to be your calls. So this will allow you to see the time spent in Zoom, Slack, or Microsoft Team calls and your huddles. And then the bottom one is your calendar. So that will be able to display past and planned events, allowing you to compare what's actually scheduled versus what happened in the day. And just to remember, white space isn't necessarily something bad. It isn't something that you should necessarily avoid. It just means you were either not working in something that you follow or you were taking a healthy break. And then I'm going to switch over to your personal insights homepage. So on your homepage, you'll find your personal insights, and these insights are daily metrics specifically tailored to you. You're the only one who's going to be able to see them. You will have your area for your sentiment, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail later. So right here. And then you'll have digital working hours, which is the duration of your digital workday spent in the apps that you've connected to in Produce 8, your time in apps, measuring the total duration across the apps that you follow, your time in calls, so the time that you spend, like I said, in Zoom, Slack, Microsoft Team calls, and then your total time in scheduled meetings, both external and internal. You have your focus score, so that's your portion of your digital workday that you spent in sessions that lasted at least 30 seconds. And then your digital intensity, which is going to compare your time in apps to your digital working hours to kind of estimate what portion or percentage of your workday was spent online. So for everybody, it's going to have a different sweet spot. You want to be able to make sure you have time for healthy breaks and offline conversations. And if you click into any of these insights, you'll also be able to look at them over a larger time frame. And you can see over 1 week, over 2 weeks, over 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So you'll be able to start understanding some of the trends. So once you've set up your personal workspace, you don't have to worry about changing anything just yet. Um, just start to work as normal as we start to understand what a normal workday looks for you. So now that you've seen how Produce 8 works and how it can provide insights into your workday, we can talk about how we can put this into action with the Great Workdays challenges. So the Great Workdays challenges are designed to engage your team in creating healthier, more productive workdays and to establish a baseline of your current work patterns. The foundation is essential for identifying what's working well and what also might be holding you back. The objective is pretty simple: to foster commitment and alignment around having healthier, more productive days. By participating in these challenges, you'll gain a clear picture of your normal work patterns, both individually and as an organization. And then once you have a baseline, you can start to see what's preventing you from being at your best and take steps to address those barriers. The idea is to systematically identify and solve these issues that are impacting your productivity and your well-being. So imagine being able to tackle these challenges, that stand in your way of having great work days. The results would obviously be, you would feel at your best, you'd achieve your best, you'd thrive at work. And that's the whole goal of the Great Workdays challenge, is to help you gain awareness and start making those positive changes. So what happens when you start having great work days? Really, everybody wins. Every level of the organization benefits. When individuals start to feel better and do their best work, it naturally lifts up the whole team, and that leads to a more successful business. When people have clear priorities and fewer distractions, they get more done in less time. Teams work better together when communication is clear and everybody understands their roles, and that kind of teamwork really helps business grow because, engaged employees and smooth processes make everything run more efficiently. And most importantly, when workloads are balanced, people are happier and healthier. And that's when creativity and innovation can really shine. And it has a really big impact on the work that we do. And in the end, great work days mean more energy, better results, and, like I said, a team that's thriving. So let's talk about how Produce 8 can help. So one of the biggest challenges in today's work environment is understanding what's holding us back. I've talked about this a couple times. Produce 8 helps raise the awareness of your work patterns so you can pinpoint those impediments that slow you down. So once you have the awareness, it's easier to align as an organization and work together towards a common goal: healthier and more productive work days. The insights that you gain will show exactly where changes need to be made, and making it easier to move forward. And with Produce 8, you can measure the impact of those changes you make by eliminating the roadblocks. You'll have more time and energy to thrive and succeed in your work. So the journey to great work days kickoff is really only 4 simple steps. Set up your workspace, work as normal, gain awareness, learnings. So first step, one you probably already completed, is accepting the invite. Um, from there, you need to install the extensions and set up your personal workspace by adding in your data sources. And this space is private just for you. I do recommend downloading the mobile app. While the mobile app doesn't track or gather any of the data from your apps, it is the quickest, easiest way for you to be able to check your insights and track your progress on the go. And then once the setup is done, all you need to do is go back and work as usual. There's no need to change anything yet. Produce 8 will be running in the background and getting a sense of what's normal for you. That part is, your part is simple. So just come back once a day to check your metrics and your insights and make sure that you use the daily sentiment feature in the app. So now to clarify, the sentiment isn't whether you're having a good day or whether you're happy or in a good mood. It's really about whether you're having a good work day. Your responses are completely anonymous, so be honest. It is important to reflect on this because over time, Produce 8 will help you see what makes a good day for you. And you'll also be able to compare on good days versus bad days. So you'll be able to learn to do more of the things that work and less of the things that don't. And then step 3. So as I mentioned, gaining awareness. Gaining awareness is key. And the great part is you don't really have to do much. Just come back in the app once a day to check your patterns. I will highlight a few areas that you should focus on. So first, in your personal workspace, you'll see your personal timeline, and the top swim lane will show your activities. So that's the number and durations of your interactions with apps that you follow in Produce 8. And then over a course of day, you'll see kind of the rainbow of colors showing how you navigate between different work applications. This view is really helpful of seeing what happened on a single day, but it also helps reveal bigger patterns over time. So for example, you might spot patterns of distraction if you see many colors clustered together, which could indicate that you're switching between a lot of different apps. On the other hand, you might see fewer colors, which show more focused work. And also to remember, white space isn't something to avoid. It is a sign of healthy breaks or even offline conversations. But if you are seeing too much white space, it could mean that you haven't set up enough of your data sources. So ideally, there should be a good balance between, work and your breaks. And then the next 2 swim lanes will show your calls and your scheduled meetings. So these will help you see if your day went according to plan. And if it didn't, you can start to figure out why. Maybe one of the meetings ran over time, or maybe you got pulled into a call that wasn't planned and maybe something else disrupted your schedule, but that's where you can start to see some of those patterns. Looking at a single day of activity is helpful, but it isn't really enough to give you a full picture. And that's why in Produce 8, if you click on any of the insights, you'll start to see the patterns that emerge over time. And these patterns will help you understand what's normal for you on a wider scale. So for example, you can see my interactions with my messaging app over the last couple of months. There's a range, and on some days I'm checking as many as 186 times, and that's very high. When you see a number that high, you have to ask, how much focused work was I really getting done that day? Was I being pinged every 5 minutes? There's no right or wrong answer here, but it is about understanding what's happening in your workday. Are these interactions helping you, or could they be holding you back? Start thinking about the patterns you see in Produce 8 and what they might mean for your productivity and your focus. And then we can also dive into the personal insights on your homepage, and this is where you can start to reflect on your work habits. So first, check out your digital working hours. Are you working the hours you planned or more or less? And then you can look at your time and apps. These two together give you your digital intensity. So for example, around 80 for me, that's really healthy. That gives me a balance. If it was closer to 100, it would probably suggest that I wasn't taking enough breaks throughout my day or having offline time. Something else to take a look at is time in calls, which will show how much time you're spending in video calls, like Slack huddles or meetings. And then time in meetings, which tracks the amount of time that you're spending in meetings, both internal and external. So any meeting that involves more than one person. There is no ideal number here. It really is just about finding out, what works best for your role. If you're probably in a sales role, you would probably want to have a higher number of meetings. So that it's obviously going to be dependent on the person. And then lastly, your focus score, which is going to measure how many of your interactions with apps lasted longer than 30 seconds. So you might be very surprised at how many interactions are actually really short. And this will help you understand, where your attention is going through the day. And now that you've gained these insights, don't keep them to yourself. You don't need to overshare, but it is important to talk about what you're learning during your one-on-ones or your team meetings. What have you learned? What are you noticing? Are others seeing the same things? If they are, those might be issues that go beyond just you. They could be widespread across your team, and sharing these insights help everybody get on the same page and then working together to address common challenges. So this is really the core of the Great Workdays challenges. It's gaining awareness and understanding your normal work patterns. On our website, produce8.com/challenges, you'll find these challenges and more with details about each one. For organizations, the goal is really to, engage individuals and support them in understanding about how to have healthier, more productive work days while also establishing normal work patterns for the team. And for individuals, this is your opportunity to visualize your own work patterns. It's about setting intentions and making small changes to create healthier, more productive work days, all with the support of your leaders and your organization. Thanks so much for taking the time to dive into Produce 8 with me and the Great Workdays challenges. Keep an eye out for more videos and resources to help you along the way. Good luck as you explore your work patterns and start creating healthier, more productive work days. We're excited to see all the positive changes that you're going to make.